How to find your community as an intuitive, empathic person. My name is Leah Chantel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about how to find community and how to present with the right energy when you're looking for your community, because no matter what mechanics or strategies you use to find your community, if you show up with the wrong energy, then you're probably not going to find the right community for you. So today is talking about energy and vibration to manifest the right community into your life. Tip number 1 is to present with an offer of help to others. Be of service to others and be willing to show kindness and be willing to be the generous one first in your community before you expect other people to give anything back to you. And so when you follow that principle, you're already putting a lot of good vibes out there and you're attracting the right people for the most part. There are some exceptions. There are some people out there sometimes who take advantage of people who are more giving. Having said that, those people are rare. I think you start seeing them when you give a lot and you're really putting yourself out there. Then you have to be a little bit more careful about your boundaries and protecting your energy. But when you're really beginning to just come out of isolation as an intuitive empath and really find your community, I don't think you're in too much danger at the beginning of finding those types of people, especially when you are the giver first. And even if you do come across people like that, there are strategies to deal with them. So I've talked about them before in some of my social media videos. So you don't need to be scared as long as you know how to set boundaries and have healthy relationships around people. You'll be okay even if you bump into somebody who is a little bit less than savory. My next tip is that you don't want to look for validation from your community first before you give. And this is related to tip number 1, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. So when you're trying to create the vibration of a new community, this is not the time to get insecure for any reason. So signs of insecurity, these are some of the common mistakes that people make when they're trying to fit into a new community. First of all, they aren't themselves. So they might watch how other people behave in the community and they try to copycat people in their community instead of being their authentic self. So maybe one person is starting a YouTube channel in the community and they decide to start their own and make it just like the other person's YouTube channel, for example. And it's okay to be inspired by other people, but you don't want to copycat people and have your voice be exactly the same as somebody else's. You want to make sure it's unique. And in the same way, sometimes that's a pretty far out example, but sometimes in subtle ways we copycat people. Like we may buy the same clothes that they have, or we dye our hair the same color they have, or think more subtle influences like that you also have to watch for. You don't have to fit in perfectly with your community. In fact, it's better to show up as your authentic self and do what works for you rather than try to emulate what someone else is doing in the community. You'll get along better with the members of your community and you'll build a more authentic relationship. Because let's face it, if you present fake in some way, you have to keep that up. And that's going to be hard over a long period of time. And then when you want to come out as your authentic self, you're going to have to explain that to your community. And that's not very fun. So it's better to be yourself instead of try to imitate someone else. My third tip for finding your positive community is that you don't want to present like they have to take care of your insecurities. I think one of the common mistakes I see intuitive empaths make in their communities is they're immediately asking for assistance, and it's okay to ask for help, but they're kind of not contributing and then they're coming out and asking for something from the community rather than focusing on contributing to the community. And so they might be like, please tell me I'm good looking still, or tell me that I look fit after I've lost weight. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if it's just kind of showing up randomly and there's no other contribution or no other conversation surrounding that topic, and you're posting about that randomly, it doesn't look super great. It looks like you're coming across insecure and you just want validation from the rest of the group. And when you're in an intuitive empathic group, it's not the worst place to show your vulnerabilities like that, because people tend to be kind. So if you make this mistake, it's okay. Like, you're probably not going to be in any trouble when you're with your intuitive community. Having said that, if you make this mistake in another community, like a business community, if you decide to open one someday, this is probably not a good thing to do. You may come across some people who are not as friendly in those communities. And for intuitive empaths, you may not get criticized or beat up over these things, but the thing is that you'll get more out of the community if you're willing to put in more and give more to the community, right? And so that's what we should be focusing on rather than presenting with our insecurities. My tip number 4 for finding your community as an intuitive empath is to find ways to have fun and be playful in the community. Not everything has to always be super serious and about healing and our traumas and getting over life events, although there is a time and a place for that, and intuitive empathic skills can be very powerful and healing for our life traumas and our life problems. So when it's appropriate to talk about that, and we're in a session or in a reading, then that can be a powerful thing to talk about. But when you're in a mixed group of people, it's okay to bring that up again, but having said that, you may get more from the group if you're more focused on giving rather than asking to receive help on any traumatic issue you've been through. Not to mention, sometimes the group, as good intentioned as they are, may not have all the skills to help you with a certain trauma. Actually, I came across this recently with some of my social media. Somebody was telling me about a very difficult issue with their religion and experience they'd had. And in that moment, I was reading it, I realized, like, to some extent, I can talk about that, but they may need help from somebody with more expertise in that specific area of spiritual abuse, like a therapist or something like that. Because I'm not a registered therapist. I am an intuitive empathic coach, and I'm very good at uplifting people and changing their lives. If there's been a very deep trauma that's taken place, I'm happy to assist where I can, but I also realize my limitations, that sometimes people need more appropriate clinical help for that as well. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. We all go through things, and it's perfectly okay to look for help when you need it. And it's good to recommend help when you know that maybe your skills aren't going to meet the requirements of the person's request. I think that's very responsible to recommend other people who can be of service and be of help as well. So that's a good thing to do. And when you're looking to heal your traumas, maybe don't put such a big burden on the group and expect the group to be able to heal really big traumas like that. Sometimes that could be a little bit beyond the scope of the group. And so you might need some more outside help of a licensed therapist or somebody who's an expert in your area of trauma to help you through that trauma. And there's nothing wrong with looking for that. It's just a little bit of a different type of support. My 5th and last tip for looking for your community is to basically bring the mystery and adventure factor into the group if you can. Show them things that you're doing that are interesting in your life, or show them things that are possible because you wish for them and you manifested them, and show other people how you did that thing. Those kinds of discoveries and contributions to the group can be quite valuable to the group. When one member sees one person in the group succeeding, they feel that much closer to succeeding themselves. And it's been said that we are the sum of the 5 people who are closest to us. And so when we're putting that positive influence of the happy life, the joyful life out there for people around us who are close to us, that influences them to live their dream lives as well. And we create a positive ripple effect out. And we essentially build our community and make it that much more vibrant, that much more inspiring, that much more worthwhile. And so that's the type of communities we want to be in, especially if we're taking the time and effort to look for them on the internet. We want to be in a positive, uplifting place. This is not your ordinary like water cooler gossip group, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with workplaces and making friends with your coworkers. I think that's fabulous when that works. But this is a level beyond that. We want to create a positive, uplifting, safe place for people who don't necessarily have those safe places in their workplace or in their family where they can turn to for support when it's needed. And we want to be the ones who give first and contribute to the group before we ask for something in return. Having said that, if we're in the habit and in the role of being the giver, and then it comes time for us to ask for help on something, that is perfectly okay. That is what the group is there for as well. I hope you enjoyed my commentary today on how to find your uplifting, intuitive group. And don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and hit subscribe if you want to hear more from me on a weekly basis. I'd be happy to share more of my intuitive, empathic relationship tips with you.